Welcome back to Statistics Made Simple, and I am Savita Balsang. In this video, I will explain the second branch of statistical inference, which is testing of hypothesis, by giving an example to it, and I'll also explain the different types of hypothesis. Starting with an introduction, let me consider the example of light bulbs manufactured by a factory. Suppose the light bulbs are manufactured by two processes. The first process is a standard process, and the second process is a new process. The manufacturer wants to know if he can replace the old process by the new process. He will do so if the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the new process is greater than the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the standard process. So, to test whether the new process can be used, samples are drawn from bulbs manufactured by the standard process and the new process. Let the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the standard process be mu1. Here we are considering all the bulbs which are manufactured in the standard process, which is the population, and hence the mean life of bulbs is denoted by mu1. Similarly, the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the new process is mu2. Let x bar 1 denote the mean life of bulbs in the sample of size n1 selected from the standard process, and x bar 2 denote the mean life of bulbs in the sample of size n2 selected from the new process. Now, the manufacturer can test three types of statements. He can test whether the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the standard process is the same. That means it is equal to the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the new process. That is, he can check whether mu1 is equal to mu2. The second possibility is he can test whether the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the standard process is greater than the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the new process. That means mu1 is greater than mu2. Or the third possibility is he can test whether the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the standard process is less than the mean life of bulbs manufactured by the new process. That is, mu1 is less than mu2. The introduction given is only for understanding purpose, and let us now move on to the actual definition of what is the hypothesis and the different types of hypothesis. Now, each of these definitions can be asked as a 2 marker along with an example. The first definition is a statistical hypothesis. It is a statement regarding the parameters of the population, and it is denoted by H. Now, observe the sentence very carefully. It is a statement regarding the parameters of the population. So, what are parameters? They are statistical constants of the population. For example, mu, which is the population mean, sigma square is the population variance, and sigma is the population standard deviation. So I can consider examples such as H denotes the mean height of students in a class is 155 centimeters. So all the students in a class will be a population, and the mean of the population, it is denoted by mu, and in this case it means that mu is equal to 155 centimeters. Second example, the mean life of bulbs is 1500 hours. So if I take into consideration all bulbs which are manufactured in a factory, it will be a population, and the mean life of these bulbs denotes is denoted by mu. That means mu is equal to 1500 hours. Then similarly, the population variance is 50. So you know that the population variance is denoted by sigma square. So in terms of notation, the statement will be sigma square is equal to 50. So if you observe these three examples, we have only parameters which are present. That is mu, and sigma square. Similarly, you can have any statement regarding sigma also. So remember that a statistical hypothesis is a statement regarding only the population parameters. Second definition is a simple hypothesis. A hypothesis which completely specifies all parameters of the population is called a simple hypothesis. First example, H denotes the population follows binomial distribution. So we know that the binomial distribution has two parameters n and p. So if we specify the values for both n and p, then that statement becomes a simple hypothesis. Okay, so H denotes the population follows binomial distribution with, now I'm saying that n is equal to 6 and p is equal to 0.2. So when you give an example, remember that n should be finite and p is the probability of success, so it should lie only between 0 and 1. Second example, H denotes the population follows Poisson distribution with lambda equal to 4. So the Poisson distribution has only one parameter lambda, and I am specifying the value of that parameter lambda as 4. So this statement becomes a simple hypothesis. The third example, the population follows normal distribution with mu equal to 12 and sigma square equal to 64. So the normal distribution has two parameters. Mu is the mean and sigma square is the population variance. And you know that mu can take any value between minus infinity and infinity, and sigma square should be a value which is greater than 0. So here both the parameters have been specified completely. Hence this hypothesis becomes a simple hypothesis. Third definition, composite hypothesis. A hypothesis which does not specify all the parameters of the population, or a hypothesis which leaves some of the parameters unspecified is called a composite hypothesis. For example, H denotes the population follows binomial distribution with n equal to 6. So you know that the binomial distribution has two parameters n and p. But here in this statement, I am defining only the value of n as 6 and I am not defining the value of p. So it becomes a composite hypothesis. Second example, H denotes the population follows binomial distribution with p equal to 0.2. Here I am not defining the value of the other parameter which is n, and hence this hypothesis is a composite hypothesis. The third example, H denotes the population follows normal distribution with mu equal to 12. So we know that the normal distribution has two parameters, mu and sigma square. We are specifying the value of mu but not specifying the value of sigma square, and hence it is a composite hypothesis. Similarly, you can define H as the population follows normal distribution with sigma square equal to 25, and you don't specify the value of mu, it becomes a composite hypothesis. But note that the Poisson distribution cannot be an example for the composite hypothesis, because the Poisson distribution and the Bernoulli distribution also, it has only one parameter and that parameter should be specified, and so they fall in the category of simple hypothesis. When we solve testing of hypothesis problems, we require two very important hypotheses, which is the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So please understand these definitions thoroughly. So the fourth definition which I'm going to explain is the null hypothesis. The hypothesis which is tested for possible rejection under the assumption that it is true is called as the null hypothesis and is denoted by H naught. For example, H naught denotes the mean height of students in a class is 155 centimeters. That means mu is equal to 155 centimeters. Similarly, H naught can be the mean life of bulbs is 1500 hours. That is mu is equal to 1500 hours. Third example, H naught is the population variance is 50. That is sigma square is equal to 50. Now observe very carefully that what I've highlighted in blue color in each of these examples is nothing but the parameter values. Okay, so the same I have written in terms of notation. So the mean height of all students in a class means it is mu. The mean life of bulbs means again it is mu. The population variance is sigma square. Now, in each of these statements, mu equal to 155 centimeters, mu equal to 1500 hours, sigma square is equal to 50, we are assuming that these values are true. But a person may not readily accept the hypothesis which is made or stated. So in this case, the person will select a sample, and based on the sample, he or she will make a decision whether to accept or reject H naught. So the hypothesis which is tested for possible rejection. So again, possible rejection means either it can be accepted or it can be rejected, but all this depends on the sample which a person is going to choose. And such a type of statement is called as the null hypothesis. Now, what is an alternative hypothesis? Now, whenever the null hypothesis is found to be false, another hypothesis which contradicts the null hypothesis is accepted. This hypothesis, which is accepted when the null hypothesis is rejected, is called as the alternative hypothesis, and it is denoted by H1. So, remember that for a given problem, we will always have H0 and H1. So H0 is the statement which is true and it is tested for possible rejection. But if we reject H0 because the sample value doesn't match with the hypothesis, then we have what is called as the alternative hypothesis. So the alternative hypothesis comes into the picture only when we reject H0. So when we reject H0, we have to accept another hypothesis, and that hypothesis is called as the alternative hypothesis. Let us understand through an example what is an alternative hypothesis. If we want to test the null hypothesis H0, the population mean is mu naught. So the population mean is denoted by mu, and in general we are saying its value is mu naught. In terms of notation, we can just write it as mu equal to mu naught. Then the alternative hypothesis can be any one of the following. So the first type is H1, mu is not equal to mu naught. So in other words, it means either mu can be less than mu naught or mu can be greater than mu naught. Such a type of alternative is called as a two-tailed alternative. The second type is H1 is mu is greater than mu naught. This is called as a right-tailed alternative. And the third type of alternative is H1 where mu is less than mu naught, and this is called as a right-tailed alternative. And I have highlighted in the yellow colored box that the alternatives in 2 and 3, that is the right-tailed alternative and the left-tailed alternative, are called as actually single-tailed alternatives or one-tailed alternatives. So let me summarize again. When we have H1 mu not equal to mu naught, or if we have the not equal to sign, then it is called as a two-tailed alternative. And if we have the greater than sign in the alternative hypothesis, then it is called as a right-tailed alternative. And if we have the less than symbol in an alternative hypothesis, it is called as a left-tailed alternative. And in general, the right-tailed alternative and the left-tailed alternative are called as single-tailed alternatives or one-tailed alternatives. And if you observe very carefully, H0 will always have the equality sign, whereas H1 can have either the not equal to sign or the greater than sign or the less than sign. So for every problem, we will have only one null hypothesis and only one alternative hypothesis. And how we choose the alternative hypothesis will depend on a particular problem which I'll be discussing in my next videos. In this video, I have explained different types of hypothesis and most importantly, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. So please be thorough with the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis, where the alternative hypothesis are of three types, that is two-tailed, right-tailed or the left-tailed alternatives. Thank you all for watching and look out for my next video called as Testing of Hypothesis Part 2, where I'll be discussing many more definitions which are related to testing of hypothesis.